Hello, it's day one of the devlog. It's almost 10 a.m. My cat is helping, and I am pressing F5 a lot, waiting for the video telling us the theme. Okay, here we go. Let's see what we're making.
Welcome to the theme reveal video for the third Blackthorn Prod Game Jam.
Drum roll.
Less is more. Take this theme in whichever direction you like. Perhaps the game is 1 minute long, but that
Less
1
is
minute
more.
is dripping with charm and wonder. Maybe make an RPG where a greedy hero, overburdened with loot, is slowed down to a turtle-like pace. Or create a story-rich experience about enjoying. Okay, remember the theme, less is more. Enjoy. Cheers.
Okay, less is more. This one's going to take some thinking about. Not really getting any ideas straight off the bat, so I'm going to settle down with a bit of paper, do some thinking, and I'll be back. Okay, it's been about half an hour. I have a couple of pages of ideas. So first I thought about kind of design principles which would go with less is more, kind of an ultra minimalist game, or taking an existing game idea and then just stripping it down to its most distilled essential. And of course you can use less is more as an aesthetic design. I'm probably going to do that anyway because I'm not a good artist. Nothing really inspired me there initially, so then I thought about gameplay. So you could have gameplay where you take away things to make more. I'm not quite sure how that works. You could just have a score which is based on minimal usage, but I mean that doesn't seem like it's really embracing the theme. I mean it's just what you do in games like Bridge Builder. Then less and more are mathematical operators, so could we do something with that? And then I thought of Baba as you, and I had an idea of kind of a programming game based around the same kind of principle. And then I thought, so I play a lot of Slay the Spire lately, so I thought about taking a deck builder and doing it in reverse. Because in Slay the Spire and other deck builders, you start with a small deck and you make it bigger as you go along, and sometimes you remove cards. But what if you did it so you start with a big deck, and what you're trying to do is refine that big deck down to a deck which works well. Then the other thing I thought of was, so you've watched films. If you're watching a film and there's a lot of ninjas, they're all individually weak. You can defeat them easily. Whereas if you have one ninja, that one ninja is deadly. So what if we have a game where you start with, say, 100 ninjas, and then each time one of them dies, they all get a bit more powerful. So you start off with a lot of weak units, and then as the game goes on, you end up with a few powerful units, but you sort of need to trade that off because you're losing units all the time, so you have less ability to act in different areas, and also you're kind of using up your total resource. Then I thought I'd try and go back to the design principles and see if I could come up with any game ideas. But I mean, thinking about stripping things away, I mean, a minimalist RPG is surely just Adventure Quest. Minimalist platformer would be something like Doodle Jump. Minimalist FPS, I mean, you're just shooting things then, aren't you? Maybe on rails. The only one I thought might be interesting was a minimalist racer. Like, you could make a game where you only control the brake, and it's all about controlling the brake to drive the car as fast as possible. I mean, it's another one-button thing. They can be fun, but I don't know. It's not exciting me. And then I really just kicked around some of the ideas I'd had before, a bit more like a construction game. Doesn't seem to embrace the theme. Traffic sim. Now this could be quite interesting. So you're trying to you start with a kind of a map with a real traffic problem on it, and you're trying to take away to kind of free up the traffic and get it flowing again. That could be an interesting puzzle game. And then sort of a thought, because less is more is a very environmentalist principle. So could we do kind of a city builder, which has much more of an environmentalist theme? So you're kind of building up your city, but you constantly need to worry about what effect that's having on the environment about it, so that you're not kind of destroying what you need to survive in order for you to survive. That could be interesting. I mean, it could almost be a roguelike city builder. You see, that wasn't one of the ideas I was going to take forward, but as I'm thinking about it just now, like a roguelike city builder, that could be interesting. Okay, so I think I've got now 4 ideas I want to take forward. So the programming game, a bit like Babra's You, the deck builder in reverse, Fear the Last Ninja, I'm going to call it, and then the roguelike city builder. So I'm going to go away for probably another half an hour and work on those game designs and see whether they go towards anything, and then I'll probably come back and talk about the one I like most and maybe why I didn't like the others, and then I'll get started. See you in a bit. Okay, I guess it's about 45 minutes later. I've been doing some more brainstorming on ideas. So I said I had 4 ideas which I was working on. I've dropped 2 of them. The kind of Babra's You type programming game I thought would be too risky and too complicated for a 1-week game jam. And the more I thought about it, the more I went away from the idea that I initially had, and towards kind of something a bit more like a Zachtronic game, something like Space Chem, and just having smaller areas, sort of a bit less of a kind of less is more concept. So I guess if you're going away from your concept as you design it, it's probably not the right concept. I still really like the idea of the roguelike city builder, but I don't think it's the right one for the game jam. So I've been thinking some more about kind of the reverse deck builder idea. So I imagine many of you have played this game, Slay the Spire. I mean, it's I think one of the best games I've played recently. I mean, I must have put several hundred hours into it at this point. And what happens after every fight is you get to add new cards to your deck, or you can skip. In fact, often you want to skip because getting too big of a deck is a problem. So you start with some cards in your deck. They're mostly not terribly good cards, and so you want to be sort of replacing them by removing these cards and getting new and better cards. Let's take Intimidate, and that gameplay mechanic is quite a common one. It comes originally from board games, and then it's moved into games like Slay the Spire, and then because Slay the Spire was very popular, you got others like Monster Train, and some of them are like Slay the Spire, where it's very much you have a deck of cards and you play cards, and the cards do things directly in the arena, whereas in others like Monster Train, you're playing character cards, and then you have some kind of spatial dimension. I mean, you can also think of it as other like card games like Hearthstone or something, where you have your deck built beforehand. And I mean, I think it's a really good kind of game, and it's also a game I've not made before, so it might be interesting to try it out. Another thing, obviously, I need to think about when I'm like planning what game idea I want to go along with is how achievable it is in this week. And it seems to me there's not that much complex stuff to do in building a deck building game. It's more about presentation and actually designing the cards and the mechanics so that they work well together to make a fun, playable game. Now, obviously, if you give someone a free choice of which cards to get rid of, then if you have kind of the different levels of cards that you have in most of these games, then people just tend to get rid of the crud. Like if you think about it in Slay the Spire terms, you're going to be getting rid of your strikes and your defense. You're not going to be getting rid of your bashes or the really good cards you get later on. So I figured you'd want to have it so that you choose from a particular set of cards each time. So it would choose 3 cards probably, and you would have to choose one of those 3 cards to get rid of. And it'll probably match them by kind of rarity or quality. So you'd get 3 basic cards, 3 uncommon cards, or 3 rare cards to choose from. So you actually have to make fairly painful decisions. And if you have kind of an arena that things are happening in, or something where you have like monsters that you're putting on the board, as well as kind of strikes and defends, or kind of healing spells and attacking spells, depending on what kind of mechanics you go with, then you can make those choices much more meaningful, because you're shaping not just like getting rid of good cards, bad cards. You're actually shaping the kind of the overall balance of your deck as you go. Obviously, I need to think of a theme. I'm thinking I'd probably go for kind of a sci-fi theme, or maybe something a bit more abstract. I don't have to decide just yet. I mean, you could always go for zombies. Everyone loves zombies. But, kind of like the more... I would say Spire is a very gonzo fantasy, actually. But like you always want to take a theme that's something a little bit away from the games that you're kind of taking your inspiration from, or they can end up feeling a bit too similar. I mean, I think the reverse deck builder mechanic itself will make it feel quite different. And then there's decisions about the overall structure of the game, how large a deck you start with. I mean, like I was thinking 30 cards, maybe 25 cards, probably end up with a deck of 5 cards. I mean, I guess it depends a bit how many cards you get each turn, and like energy mechanics, how I want that to work. That's all stuff I need to, figure out a bit more. Now, the other game idea would be a bit more like a real-time strategy game, maybe a bit like the really old game Cannon Fodder, if you're familiar with that. So you'd need quite a bit more mechanically to make it work. You need to be able to direct units around a map. So you'd start with maybe 100 ninjas, and you'd be selecting blocks of them and sending off in directions. They'd have their own AI, so that you're not commanding individual units so much. And initially, they'd probably just have a melee attack, so you actually have to bring them right up to the enemies, who will be shooting at them in order to kill them. And they'd be very weak. Probably one hit would kill them all the time. So in the early game, you'd be controlling these swarms. You're trying to, get up close and personal. And then as some proportion of them die up, all the rest would level up. And then they would get shurikens that they could throw some things when they're reasonably close. And then they would just decide between, shurikens or melee based on range. And maybe, you could have cover as well. And then... as they level up some more, I mean, they're ninjas, they should be quite sneaky, so you'd give them kind of stealth, so that if they're close to walls or something, then they would be invisible to the enemy, and you could, control them quite carefully to bring them in, or just charge them in. I mean, you have your choices. And then as they keep leveling up, they get more powerful attacks. Maybe you could also get kind of ninja grappling around the place or something to let them move more swiftly, particularly when you get down to that final ninja, who should be a complete badass. And then maybe you could have really more interesting options to move around the screen because you're no longer controlling a mass of things. You'd be controlling really sort of one individual. So the biggest problem with this as an idea, and I think why I'm going to go for the deck builder instead, is the amount of stuff that I need to develop in order to make it work. You need good AI for each of the units, and good AI for controlling mass blocks of units moving around a map. That's doable. It's probably achievable in the 7 days. I think I could make it, but I don't think I would be able to make it kind of polished. I don't know. I'm not making a final decision right now. I'm probably going to work on them a little bit more, and try and kind of hammer down the ideas a bit on both of them. But right now, I think I'm probably going to go for the deck builder game. I've never done a game jam before, by the way. This is my first one, so I don't know whether I'm spending too much time in this kind of planning phase or whether I should have just sort of charged off with my first idea. But I think investing time now and kind of getting a good idea and considering various options is probably the right choice. I guess I'll find out. Alright, I'm going to go and work up some more on these game designs and I'll be back. Okay, I have decided I will go with the reverse deck building game. I think it's the one which is the most interesting to me, and also the one which is going to be easiest to get going with in the time. There's a lot of design work to be done. The actual programming shouldn't be too much of a problem. Obviously there's polish and what have you, but the design I think is going to be the more challenging part to get right in the time that I have. Yeah, so I'm going to break for lunch now. I'm probably going to start on some programming work to get the basics of the deck and things in, and then I need to make some serious decisions about the design of the game and the theme of the game. At the moment I'm thinking either something sort of a bit fantasy pirate themed or possibly something much more kind of sci-fi where you're going through derelict wrecks. I don't know. I don't have to decide that just yet. Alright, see you in the next video.